Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Have you ever wondered how a single event can change the entire course of history? Today, we're diving into a massive what-if. What if Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire, was never conquered in 1453? Close your eyes for a second and just imagine it. A world where the last bastion of the Roman Empire never fell. How would that ripple through time? Would the world we know today even exist? The fall of Constantinople was a monumental turning point, marking the end of the Middle Ages and sparking the Renaissance. But if it had survived, what would our politics, our technology, our very societies look like? Would Europe still have embarked on the age of discovery? Would the balance of power between East and West be completely different? This isn't just an academic exercise, it's a journey into an alternate reality, a history that almost was. We're going to explore how this one event could have reshaped everything, from the maps on our walls to the ideas in our heads. So, buckle up as we unravel the threads of time and explore a world where the mighty walls of Constantinople held strong against the tide of history. Let's get into it. First, let's talk politics. If Constantinople never fell, the Byzantine Empire, or what was left of it, would have survived. It might not have been a global superpower anymore, but its very existence would have been a game-changer. Imagine a Christian Orthodox powerhouse sitting at the crossroads of Europe and Asia. The Ottoman Empire's expansion into Europe would have been severely stalled, if not stopped entirely. The Sieges of Vienna might never have happened. This would fundamentally alter the map of Eastern Europe and the Balkans. Instead of centuries of Ottoman rule, these regions might have remained under Byzantine influence or developed into independent kingdoms allied with Constantinople. The political center of gravity in the Orthodox world would have remained firmly with the Byzantines, potentially lessening Moscow's claim as the Third Rome. This could have altered the entire trajectory of Russian history and its relationship with the West. Furthermore, the great powers of Europe, Spain, Portugal, France, and England would be dealing with a very different geopolitical landscape. The traditional trade routes to the east would have remained open and controlled by a Christian power. This brings up a huge question: would the Age of Discovery have even happened in the same way? Without the urgent need to find a new sea route to the Indies to bypass Ottoman control, would Columbus have ever set sail? Perhaps the Americas would have been discovered much later, or by different nations under completely different circumstances. The entire colonial history of the world could be rewritten. The balance of power would be less of a simple East versus West and more of a complex, multipolar world, with the Byzantines acting as a crucial buffer and intermediary. The very concept of European identity might have evolved differently, more inclusive of its Eastern Roman heritage. Now, let's shift gears to technology and science. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 triggered a massive brain drain. Greek scholars, artists, and scientists fled the city, taking with them priceless ancient manuscripts and knowledge. They flocked to Italy and other parts of Europe, directly fueling the Renaissance. This influx of classical Greek texts on philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy was like pouring gasoline on a fire, accelerating Europe's intellectual awakening. But what if they never left? If Constantinople remained a vibrant center of learning, would the Renaissance have been delayed, or would it have happened differently? Perhaps the Renaissance would have been centered not in Florence, but in Constantinople itself. The Byzantine Empire could have experienced its own intellectual and scientific golden age, blending its classical heritage with new discoveries. Think about the development of things like the printing press. It spread like wildfire in Western Europe, but its adoption in the Ottoman Empire was much slower. A surviving Byzantine Empire might have embraced this technology much sooner, leading to a wider dissemination of knowledge throughout the Orthodox world. And what about military technology? The Siege of 1453 was a landmark event for gunpowder warfare. The massive cannons used by the Ottomans proved that medieval walls were obsolete. If the city had held out, perhaps through better defenses or timely reinforcements, the evolution of fortification and siegecraft would have taken a different path. Maybe military engineers would have focused on reinforcing traditional walls rather than developing the star forts that came to dominate European warfare. On the other hand, the constant threat from powerful neighbors might have spurred Byzantine innovation even further, making them leaders in military tech. The flow of ideas would also be different. Instead of a one-way street of knowledge from a fallen city to the West, we would see a two-way exchange, with innovations from the West flowing into a stable and prosperous Byzantium, and vice versa. This could have accelerated scientific progress globally, or perhaps created a more fractured scientific community with competing centers of excellence. Okay, so we've looked at the big picture of politics and tech, but what about the everyday lives of people? How would society and culture have been different? For starters, the identity of millions of people in the Balkans and Anatolia would be fundamentally changed. Instead of developing under Ottoman administration, these societies would have continued to evolve within the Byzantine cultural sphere. The Greek language and Orthodox Christianity would have maintained a dominant position in the region rather than becoming the heritage of a subject population. This would have profound implications for modern national identities in countries like Greece, Bulgaria, Serbia, and even Turkey. The rich tapestry of Byzantine art, music, and architecture, which we mostly see as historical relics, would be a living, evolving tradition. Imagine new churches being built in the grand style of the Hagia Sophia, not as a museum, but as the central cathedral of a living empire. The cultural divide between Catholic Western Europe and Orthodox Eastern Europe might have been less pronounced. With the powerful and prestigious Byzantine Empire acting as a bridge, there might have been more cultural and religious dialogue, perhaps even leading to a healing of the Great Schism of 1054, or it could have entrenched the differences, creating a more defined cultural Cold War for the rest of the world. The preservation of Byzantine culture would mean a more direct and unbroken link to the classical world of Greece and Rome. Instead of rediscovering these ideas during the Renaissance, they would have been a continuous part of the global conversation. This could have led to different philosophical outlooks, different artistic styles, and different social norms taking root around the world. The concept of empire, law, and civil administration, which the Byzantines perfected over 1,000 years, would have continued to influence governance everywhere. So what are the long-term, global consequences of a world without the fall of Constantinople? Let's zoom out. The entire colonial era, which shaped the modern world, could be unrecognizable. If European powers weren't pushed to find new sea routes to the east, the colonization of the Americas, Africa, and Asia would have happened on a different timeline and with different motivations. This could mean different colonial powers, different borders, and completely different post-colonial nations. The United States, as we know it, might not exist. Latin America could have a completely different cultural and linguistic makeup. The power dynamics of the 20th century might also be completely altered. The Ottoman Empire was a major player in World War I, and its collapse led to the modern map of the Middle East. Without a powerful Ottoman Empire, what would that region look like? A surviving Byzantine Empire would be a major player in its own right. Would it have allied with the Entente or the Central Powers, or remained neutral? The consequences of that choice alone are staggering. The Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union might also have played out differently. Russia's historical identity, deeply tied to its role as the successor to Byzantium, would have been different. This could have altered its political ambitions and its relationship with the West throughout history. Ultimately, a surviving Constantinople means a world with a third major Christian power, a different map, a delayed or altered age of exploration, a reshaped Middle East, and a completely different set of cultural and political reference points. The world would be far more multipolar from a much earlier stage, with power centers in Western Europe, the Byzantine East, and perhaps elsewhere. It's a domino effect of epic proportions. To wrap it all up, imagining a world where Constantinople never fell isn't just a fun thought experiment. It shows us how interconnected our history is and how a single event can send shockwaves down through the centuries. A surviving Byzantine Empire would have meant a different political map, a different path for science and technology, and a different cultural landscape for the entire planet. The Renaissance might have happened in the East, the Age of Discovery might have been delayed, and the great power conflicts of the modern era could be completely unrecognizable. The world we live in was not inevitable. It was shaped by countless moments, victories, and defeats. The fall of Constantinople was one of the biggest, but what do you think? Would a surviving Byzantine Empire have been a force for stability and progress? Or would it have eventually crumbled under internal pressures, leading to a different kind of chaos? What's the biggest change you think we would see in our world today? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through alternate history. It's a massive topic, and we've only scratched the surface. If you found this fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And I really want to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let me know what you think would be the biggest consequence if Constantinople had never been conquered. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.